Okay, so are you ready for this? Today, we're going to tackle this thing called the Existential Crisis Iceberg. Yeah, it's like
Ex-
a visual.
Oh, I've seen that graphic floating around online with the iceberg, right?
Exactly. You see the tip, like, oh, some familiar stuff.
Yeah.
But then underneath, whoa, boy, layers, man. Deep, potentially disturbing layers of thought.
Leading to, yeah, a full-blown existential crisis for some, maybe.
Could be. That's the fun part. We'll start with the surface stuff, things we all kind of recognize, then dive into the deeper, weirder stuff.
The stuff that keeps you up at night staring at the ceiling.
That's the good stuff. We got simulation theory, last Thursdayism. Buckle up.
Sounds like a wild ride.
So, top of the iceberg, right? Like, one thing that always gets me is this idea of Sonder. Ever been walking through a crowd, everyone rushing around?
Oh, yeah, all the time, especially in the city.
And it hits you. Every single person there has a life as complex as yours, right? Joys, sorrows, the whole deal.
Their own hopes and dreams, fears, loves. We're just a blip in their story and vice versa.
It's kind of humbling, right? This vastness of human experience we're all part of.
Absolutely. And then I think a lot of people can relate to this, the whole adulting thing.
Oh yeah, that hits hard. Remember being a kid, worrying about what game to play at recess.
Simpler times. Now it's career, relationships, money, meaning, figuring out life's big puzzle.
All those pressures.
Yeah.
Finding your place in the world, living up to expectations, societal stuff.
Definitely. That transition can really spark those existential questions for sure.
Big time. Okay, so ready to go deeper. Below the surface, things get more philosophical, more intense.
Lead the way.
So we hit the simulation theory. This is the idea that what if our reality, all this, is just a really, really advanced computer simulation?
Whoa, like we're all just code in someone else's program.
Right, that's the thought. It's wild, right? And there's this philosopher, Nick Bostrom, who has an argument about it.
Yeah, the statistical likelihood argument. Basically, if tech keeps advancing, someone will eventually create realistic simulations.
Right, so if there are tons of simulations out there, statistically, it's more likely we're in one than in the base reality, whatever that is.
It's almost like those Russian nesting dolls, realities within realities, and where do we fit in?
It's a head trip. And then, I mean, the big one, right? Underneath it all, why does anything exist?
Ah, the fundamental question. Why something rather than nothing? No easy answers there.
Nope. Been debated for, well, forever. I feel like there are two main paths people take when they hit this question.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Sort of a fork in the road.
One path is like, okay, we can't know, it's beyond us, accepting the mystery.
Agnostic uncertainty.
And the other path,
Searching for answers. Religion, metaphysics, something to give meaning to the void.
both valid in their own way, I guess. It depends on what brings you comfort, maybe.
Yeah. And speaking of comfort, or lack thereof, let's talk about death. Can't ignore that one.
The ultimate existential dilemma, right? Finite beings aware of our finiteness.
It's heavy. But some people find, like, a strange peace in facing it head on. Yeah, accepting our mortality can make life more precious, I guess. Makes you focus on what matters.
Prioritize, live authentically, all that. Okay, ready for some real brain benders? We're going deep now.
Tip me.
So this one is a bit cynical, but what if all sympathy, all our goodness, is actually rooted in self-pity?
Huh. That's not the most uplifting thought.
No, right. The idea is we help others not out of pure altruism, but to alleviate our own discomfort at seeing them suffer.
So it's not about them, it's about us feeling better.
That's the theory. It challenges the idea of selfless compassion, right?
It does, but I mean, even if the initial impulse is selfish, maybe helping can lead to genuine connection.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a debate for sure.
Oh,
Okay, another curveball. Last Thursdayism.
that one's a classic.
Buckle up. It's the idea that the universe was created last Thursday, with all our memories, history, everything.
So, like, we were just poofed into existence with preloaded experiences.
Exactly. It's obviously meant to be absurd, right?
Right.
It's a thought experiment.
A challenge to how we know things. If it could have all been created last Thursday, how can we be sure of anything?
It's a mind warp. It kind of makes fun of those who rely solely on faith or personal experience as proof of anything.
Yeah, like, I believe it, therefore it must be true. Last Thursdayism pushes that logic to its extreme.
It's a good way to examine the limits of knowledge for sure. Okay, last stop, the bottom of the iceberg.
Deepest depths. What we got?
This one's a bit bleak. You are alone in your brain.
Oof, that's a bit isolating.
It is. It emphasizes how subjective our experiences are.
Hmm.
Like, we can try to connect, but ultimately, our inner world is ours alone.
Trapped in our own minds, observing the world through our own unique filters.
Like being in a control room, watching the world through monitors, right? We see, we react, but we're separated from the actual thing.
It's a strange thought. It makes you question how much of reality is just our own internal construction.
So much to unpack. What are your overall thoughts after diving into all this existential stuff?
It can be overwhelming, but also it kind of forces you to confront those big questions we usually avoid. It can be freeing in a way.
It's like shaking up your worldview, right? And maybe it leads to a deeper appreciation for life, for the mystery of it all.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway.
Totally. And hey, if anyone's interested in digging deeper, we'll have links to all the stuff we talked about. There's always more to explore. Before we go, I keep thinking about this. If we're all united by this shared experience of existence, how do we build more empathy for each other, despite all our differences?
That's a good question to leave on. Something to ponder, for sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and until next time.
See you next time.